Call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection for our servicemen and women throughout the world, for those who have passed away in our community. Roll call, please, Mrs. Carrera.
Dr. Rothchild? Here. Mr. Sean McAndrew?
Present.
Mr. Mark McAndrew?
Present.
Mr. Flynn?
Here.
Mr. Schuster?
Present. Please dispense with the reading of the minutes.
Third order, 3A. After action snowstorm report received February 24th, 2026 from City Business Administration. 3B. Controllers report for the month ended February 28th, 2026 received March 16th, 2026.
Are there any comments on any of the third order items? If not, received and filed. Do any councilmen have announcements at this time?
Yeah, I have a few. Just first, want to wish everyone a happy St. Patrick's Day. Hope you had a great weekend with all the celebrations going on. Hope you celebrated safely. Hope you continue to celebrate safely tonight, but happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. And just one announcement, the Greenridge Neighborhood Association will be hosting their annual Easter egg hunt Sunday, March 29th at Pretzel Park on the corner of North Washington and Electric Street. It starts at 1 p.m. It's free entry, and to RSVP for the hunt to Greenridge Neighborhood Association at gmail.com, and the potential rain date will be April 4th. Hope to see everyone there.
Thank you. Do any other council members have any announcements at this time?
I also wanted to wish everyone a St. Patty's Day. I think we had another successful parade day on Saturday this year, and I just want to thank our city departments, the Scranton Police, Scranton Fire, DPW, all of our departments that work together that day to make sure that everyone was safe and able to enjoy the day and the parade and celebrations. I do find myself each year being a bit disappointed by the amount of calls, especially in the Hill section, where a lot of university students are involved. And I know that our police department worked very hard that day to maintain order. So I do appreciate that, and just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd also like to wish everyone a happy St. Patrick's Day. Also, to echo Dr. Rothschild's comments, thank you to DPW, SPD, and SFD, and other city departments that helped with traffic control that day. Road Scholar for their help as well to keep traffic off the parade routes and the race routes. So thank you for what you did.
Okay, so I'd also like to wish everybody a very happy St. Patrick's Day today. And I'd also like to thank the public safety departments, the police, firefighters, DPW, everybody else that was involved in keeping it a safe and enjoyable parade. They do a great job every year. It's a heavy lift, but it's almost seamless, and I want to applaud them for their efforts. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to agree with all my colleagues. First of all, wish everybody a happy St. Patrick's Day. And the parade day was great. I hope everybody enjoyed it with their family. Thank you again to our police to make sure everybody's safe, and to our DPW for the cleanup. I drove downtown the day after, and it looked great. So thank you to everybody, and enjoy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you. Yeah, the cleanup was pretty fast, and they had the street sweepers out within, I'd say, a half hour of the end of the parade.
Fourth order, citizen participation.
Thank you. The first speaker is Joan Hodowanitz.
Joan Hodowanitz, Scranton. Excuse me. With regard to the St. Patrick's Day parade, it is certainly a different parade than it was 20 or 25 years ago, when you could buy 17 cents beer at 7 o'clock in the morning and there were fist fights and public urination and all kinds of rowdiness. And you didn't see any of that in the last several years. So I'm very happy not only with the way that our public safety departments keep us safe and DPW does the cleanup and a lot of other tasks, but it is a much more family-oriented and safe environment. And those who want to celebrate in the bars, they do so. But the rowdiness and the uncleanliness is all gone, so that's a great improvement. Now, if you could just do something about the damn weather, it would have been perfect. The Scranton Public Library is always trying to find out why people patronize the library and why others don't. And one of the obvious impediments to going to the library downtown is parking. And a lot of people don't realize that the library's gone to great efforts to assist in that dilemma. They have an agreement with the Adams Garage, right? I guess it's right over there. You can get a 2-hour parking discount Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. The library will discount up to 2 hours of parking at the garage. If you go 3 hours, you only get charged for 1 hour. Now, before you all say, oh, I'll park at the Adams Garage and I won't go to the library, but I'll get 2 free hours of parking. It doesn't work that way. We may be nice, but we're not stupid. So you have to actually go to the library so that you can get the credit for the 2 hours of parking at the garage. But, why should somebody not be able to enjoy the services of the Scranton Public Library or the Children's Library during the week just because they can't find reasonable parking? So this is an opportunity for those who want to patronize the library to do so, to get 2 free hours of parking at the Adams Garage. So I just want to make sure that that got put out. I don't know of any other nonprofit organization in the downtown area that has an agreement like that. I wish more people did. Next, 441 days since the DPW contract expired. So, is there any hope on the horizon?
I've only heard that there were some meetings, but Mr. Voldenberg, could we officially ask if there have been any meetings and what the dates of those meetings are, and if there's any movement on the DPW CBA?
I'll get that information.
I believe they might even have one tomorrow, from what I heard.
As I recall, we're still scheduled for a caucus on April 7th with DPW to discuss the cleanup after the winter storm, correct?
Yes.
I would hope that as many DPW workers as possible come to personally listen to that presentation, that caucus, and that they stay for the follow-on meeting so that if there are any comments they would like to make on what was presented, they do so. Because there are always two sides to every story. And I don't want to just hear one side. I want to hear both sides of the story. And again, I want to remind everybody that the Friends of the Scranton Public Library is sponsoring a trip to the Bronx Zoo on Saturday, May 2nd. If you're a member of the Friends, the cost is $85. If you're not, it's $90. Children are $80. But get out of town, see something wonderful. And if you're at least 50 years old, and you can become a member, of the Friends for only $5, and the discount pays for your membership. So think about it. The bus is going to fill up awfully fast, so do not wait. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mike Mancini.
Council President Schuster, good evening, Council and residents of Scranton. Tonight, Part 2, my version of the state of Scranton. The topic, HUP testing and property assessment. Council and residents, allow me to draw your attention to two important issues that need more than just talking points. The HUP test has been in limbo for years. To those who do not know what a HUP test is, it determines the ability of a nonprofit to pay property taxes. To be considered a purely public charity, nonprofits must: 1, advance a charitable purpose. 2, donate or render a substantial portion of its services. 3, benefit a substantial and indefinite class of persons who are legitimate subjects
Macy, can you
of
turn it up?
charity.
I'm having trouble here.
4, relieve the city, county, and school district of some burden. And 5, operate entirely free from private profit motive. I can understand Council Member Mark McAndrew's frustration asking repeatedly for information. He gets it too. Honest taxpayers carry the burden of inflated taxes while others do not pay their fair share. We need answers to these questions. Has the University of Scranton replied to the request for information? Were all their properties assessed? Could a time limit for a reply be established? What happens if an entity like the University of Scranton does not reply? These are questions that deserve answers. $125K per year from the U does not sit well with me. Utilize Attorney Gilbride's skill set and guidance to bring this very important talking point to a resolution. Honest taxpayers deserve it. Help prevent tax increases. The city, school district, and county needed that income yesterday. Bring all parties to caucus ASAP. To the University of Scranton, allow me to be the first to say, this is an attempt to collect a debt rightfully owed to honest taxpayers. Any information will be used solely for that purpose. Regarding the recent assessment, the first since 1968 has many property owners addressing proper values. Appraisers are booked over a month out because of appeals. While many pay property taxes on time, others have had substantial rehabilitations to their properties to include garages, expanding square footage, and even just for land while a home sits without paying their fair share. Mr. Gilbride mentioned over a year ago that there are thousands just like I described. Permits need to be pulled. Figure out who threw the middle finger at the system and honest property owners who struggle with their bills. There is no stature of limitations to collect, this time to the cheaters. This is an attempt to collect the debt. Any information will be used for that purpose. Here are 6 recommendations to help the future stability of Scranton and relieve some of the burden on honest taxpayers. Finalize the results of the HUP testing. Retroactively collect taxes from those who deceived Commonwealth property tax laws. Make the cheaters pay up. Look into the delinquent property taxes, trash fees, and any other monies owed to the city and determine that we have the best options in place to recover what is owed. Enact ordinances and fines regarding blocked or defective storm drains. Enact ordinances and fines regarding defective power poles and arching wires. Enact an ordinance to allow a 3% hotel tax for all 811 hotel rooms within city limits. The county charges 7%. There is about $3 million just sitting. These are just some recommendations to help allow honest property owners to become as whole as possible. Acknowledge this important conversation, or don't. The choice is yours. Next week, Part 3, our amazing, hard-working unionized employees. Good evening, Council, and the good people of Scranton.
And happy St. Patrick's Day.
Our next speaker, Les Spindler.
Evening, Council. Les Spindler, city resident, homeowner, taxpayer. First thing I have tonight, spoke about the Greenwood Street Bridge last week, said how they took like a month off. Well, last Monday they came, started taking that dirt pile away, and up to Thursday they were doing it. I drove by Friday, they weren't doing it Friday. Went by yesterday, they weren't there yesterday. Finally, they showed up today again. So hopefully by the end of the day today, the rest of that dirt was gone. And hopefully they won't take another month off once that happens. Hopefully they finish. That project should be done no later than next month or no later than May. Moving on. I forgot to bring this up last week. I go up and down Greenwich Street twice every day, Monday to Friday, taking a child to school, picking him up. That road is one of the roughest roads to ride in the city. From the railroad viaduct up to Monroe Avenue, going up to Dunmore, Greenwich Street is terrible, especially the 900 block and the 1000 block. There's pave cuts and potholes and cracks in the pavement. And I brought this up over a year ago. I don't know what PennDOT is looking at, but that's one of the worst streets to travel in the city. The 900 block is littered with pave cuts. It's like driving on a washboard. It's terrible, terrible. And then coming down, the other problem is manhole covers that don't meet the surface of the road. It's like hitting a pothole. And I had three corners. There's one on Penn Avenue in Greenridge. There's an orange line drawn around it for like since the winter. Nothing's been done. Then there's two on Muncie, the corner of Muncie and Greenridge. And there's two more on Kapous and Greenridge. So hitting those manhole covers, it's like hitting a pothole. So that's, like I said, that's one of the most traveled streets in the city. And it's terrible, terrible. Moving on. Anybody that's been coming to these meetings for as long as I have knows, not a fan of the University of Scranton. The pilot that they pay to the city is nothing near what they should be. For all the tax-paying properties that they've bought and taken them off the tax rolls, they don't pay nearly what they should be. But on a good note, though, I want to wish the University of Scranton Lady Royals best of luck at the Final Four this weekend in Virginia. I started going to watch their games in January because whether you know it or not, their leading scorer, her name's Casey Cranston. She's daughter of one of Scranton's finest, Patrol Officer Jill Foley. I've known Jill for like 23 years. And I said, when I saw Jill a while back, I said, I got to come and see some games. As I started going, they weren't just beating people. They were beating by 30, 40, 50 points. I left one game after the third quarter. They were winning 83-22. And last weekend, they were good games because tougher competition. They beat a team from Minnesota on Saturday. Ended up by 16 points, but they were up by 20-some. But and I went to the athletic director before the game started Saturday. I said, you know, it would be a good idea to have a watch party at the Long Center. A lot of people won't make it to Virginia. So he liked the idea, but he said, let's see what happens tonight. Well, they won, so hopefully they'll do that. And I met so many people going to those games, and I got to give a shout out to one special person. The first game I went to, I sat down. This young man waved to me and said, "Hi, Les." Didn't know who he was. Then he and his mother went out to say they don't live in the city, but they watch the council meetings every week. And they said, not to be cocky, but they said they love the things I say and this and that. And he's a wonderful young man. He just told me that night that he got his driver's permit. So, Grayson, I hope you're watching. So I'm going to miss seeing you at the games. And hopefully we'll run into each other again. And good luck with your driving. And like I said, it was nice meeting you, and it was lots of fun. So that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Les. Next speaker is Ron Ellman. Oh, Mr. Voldenberg.
Yes, sir.
There is some pavement restoration included with the Greenridge Street Bridge project, and I know we did get an update. Could we find out if they're going to pave further than just the area of the bridge, if they plan on going several blocks, or what the area is they plan on restoring when it comes to Greenridge Street?
I'll ask them.
Thank you.
Council, well, last week was another birthday for me, and Roseanne decided that I didn't want to come to a council meeting. Anyway, I've heard all that BS about how fortunate we are to have these new programs overtaking our cities and towns and forests and everything else. You know, I was listening. How could people be so naive to think that, as the paper said this past week, that they're going to use a small amount of water? They don't need these quantities of electricity, that there'll be thousands of jobs. They only need a small contingent of not highly paid people to watch monitors. That's what's being done right now in the ones that are running. They don't have a bunch of people. And right now, while we're sitting here and I'm standing here, you know as well as I'm here, somebody somewhere is working on a better system than these big buildings full of all kinds of equipment. I have one of my friends that died. His son's in the business, and he told me on the phone, it must be a year ago now, I was telling him I need a new refrigerator, and he said he honestly believes all these house explosions are from the gas being used in refrigerators. Anyway, that long ago, he mentioned these big centers that are becoming and buying property, so it's not new. Well, to change it a little bit, my friend, the mayor, the worst mayor of American cities, she seems like her running is getting to her a little bit. I think she's calling it's like the pot calling the kettle black. I just wonder if she does get anywhere, if she'll Scrantonize and Bidenize the whole country, like being a Biden protege as she is. Maybe she wants to be more like Clinton or Harris. And this mayor, our mayor, couldn't hold a candle to those two ladies. At least they had something good during their times in office. You know, it's said that the government isn't supposed to go against the will of the people, but we see it coming. These people our elected officials are softening up, getting us ready, like ready for the kill, that we're going to have these units all over everywhere. You know why? because they don't have to worry about the people out here, what the will of the people is. This is a terrible thing to come, because these buildings, 5, 10 years, these buildings would be needless, useless, big eyesores. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address council?
Good evening, Tom Coyne, Manuka. First on the data centers, I'm glad that after I talked before council about the issue of if a zoning does not address a usage, it's allowed everywhere, and that everyone jumped on the bandwagon. Yes, it needs to be added to the zoning to make it as easy as possible, even in the areas that it may be allowed. It should be set as SE, special exception, requiring them to deal with neighbors, public hearings, and gaining a zoning variance exception. I believe there needs to be set conditions of reduced operations during emergencies, such as mandatory reductions during droughts and grid issues. Data centers are fixed locations, but for most operations, AI and storage, it can be shifted to other facilities, and they should be required to provide a Sarbanes-Oxley type process in the application for an exception to the rules for the center. Redundancy and the ability to shift operations to another region is a prudent measure. As the ordinance says, get it on the books and then you can fine-tune it. Even if it only says in all of the zones, a special exception is required for data centers. That covers the point. Off to the snow report. First, it looks good on the surface level, but it lacks specific details that the city should have offered clarity, and I'll address them. The total snow vehicles, 7 require CDLs and 11 do not. Of the listing of staff on the shift, I see a number, but it lacks the clarity of, out of the ones who responded, how many had CDL licenses? Thursday, January 29th and Friday, January 30th of 2026, 2 p.m. to 6 a.m. shifts, 5 drivers reported, including 1 operator at the salt shed. 4 drivers is an obvious short. And I'm not sure if included was proper as used for the salt shed operator unless he had a CDL license, or if it was 5 reporting plus the salt shed operator. So 2 of the 7 days were unclear if all CDL drivers who were to cover the 7 trucks were available and reported to work, and if the city was factoring in mandatory downtime for a CDL driver's license. The workers who do not need CDLs are listed as reported in, but are not broken out in the numbers. And if there is a shortage of non-CDL plow drivers there, then cross-training should be mandated so everyone can run a plow. Does the director of DPW and the managers have a CDL license? And were they out plowing? Second, regarding the time of the shifts, 2 p.m. to 6 a.m. for an entire week. That's 16 hours off, 16 on and 8 off. CDL forbids more than 8 hours and then requires 10 off. And even under the emergency rule of the Federal Motor Carriers Safety Administration, the 14-hour rule extends it to 14 and then 10 off. This requirement is a DOT requirement. If you plan to run an emergency shift for longer hours, then sleeping facilities need to be made available at the DPW garage as you do with the fire department, as 16-hour shifts are unreasonable and unsafe. Third, it pulls the call-out numbers an excuse for staffing and the need to outsource contractors, and then states, city officials deployed DPW staff in sufficient to reach full capacity throughout the storm event and subsequent cleanup. So we had call-outs that caused us to be understaffed, but we had sufficient staff. Which is it? The report says both. Again, they follow after that with, if staffing shortfalls continue, they may have to, as they have been trending, the city may have to consider one or more vendors available to perform snow plowing or removal. So to clarify, we did not have enough, but we had enough, and because we don't, when we did, we may need outside vendors. Something is wrong in this evaluation. So cross-training on the non-CDL plows should be a part of the plan, or hiring more CDL drivers to cover the call-outs and excessive shifts. And last, how about park service crews? They do drive trucks. Are they available to be called in for emergency for running the non-CDL plows? Why isn't other city resources who run trucks put on the call-in list for city emergencies? That would be prudent. Good night.
Thank you. Fifth order.
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Hang on. Yep, sorry, Frank.
Wait, we missed.
Rick Little.
Hello, Rick Little. It's still hard to hear anything. I'd like to talk to Chris about seeing if there's if I can bring my Bluetooth headphones here, because it's hard to hear, and I missed it last week. Should ring a bell or something when the last speaker. I just came from the library, the greatest institution in this city, the greatest library I've ever been to. It's a fantastic place. You can learn about anything, get anything, and do anything through the library. It should be greatly supported. And I was reading a newspaper. The newspaper doesn't come out yesterday, but the one newspaper came out today, and I read it, and the editorials about transparency and sunshine laws, and that is what has to happen. I'm seeing a little movement in the government because things are changing fast all over the world, and they're talking about data centers. I mean, this has been coming up the pike a real long time. It's my opinion that the data centers as they are now would just completely destroy this whole community, and they're not necessary. I'm watching the war in the Middle East, and I've always read about weapons, especially in Lebanon and Syria, in the past 20 years, and it's attributed to Starlink satellites, because people are fighting with drones and the Iron Domes and everything. But it seems to me that's the future, and the energy is nuclear fission. That's the future. But if they come in here, it's just going to be bad water, bad sound, bad taxes. And taxes are really bad now. And people have to know what's going on, getting back to the sunshine law. And, I had a hell of a time staying in Scranton Housing Authority. That's when I originally started coming here. I couldn't even find out who owned the building, and then the attorney here tells me it's owned by HUD. Well, that's the sort of answers I'm getting from, all this Medicare and Medicaid stuff. And I spent a lot of time walking around seeing all this time, Rob Bresnahan stealing your Medicare and Medicaid and all this stuff. It's a complicated system, but when you start thinking about it, this area, the whole state is run by Geisinger. It started in Danville. It's a medical thing. Everything is about behavioral health, and, any crime in this area. You look at any bus, it's like what do they call it, treatment court, and they got like 4 of the 8 judges in on that. And, people commit crimes, and you realize, you see, $50,000 bail, and you see another crime, for going to the Geisinger Hospital, and they tie them up, and it's crazy, it's crazy that I go down to the Capitol record plant where the Beach Boys and Beatles records were all printed on this side of the country, and it's Scranton Behavioral Health, which used to be right there on Adams. Everything is behavioral health, and all the remedies are legal. There's too much legal stuff because they cheat in all the legal stuff. There's no due process, and that's the problem with the the form of government we have here, because everybody's acquiescing to the legal. And we're going into a big computer age, and I've certainly, AI is the thing, and things are compounding daily, going faster and faster, and, we're not in a war. We haven't had a declared war in many, many years in my whole life, and the purpose of Congress and the purpose of our representatives, it has to be made clear. And that's a hard thing to do without a media. I guess my time's up, but thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address council? Okay.
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Dr. Rothchild, do you have any motions or comments?
Yes, just a couple. First, last week I had asked again about a couple of properties that I wanted to see prioritized for potential demolition, and we received a response that the OECD team will look further into the two properties I had mentioned to see if they should be prioritized for demolition. I have some follow-up questions to this. I know that in the past, I believe there was a committee that had met, or a group of employees to determine what to do with the condemned properties, or creating that demolition list. I'd like to know now if there's still a committee or a group in place that meets to do that. If so, how often, and then when they will anticipate having a demolition list ready for 2026. And I would also like to know a little bit more about how the demolitions are prioritized. I'm assuming, but I don't want to assume that safety is number one if something has to be brought down because of that, or then perhaps the amount of time that a property's been condemned. I know some of these do also get stuck legally and in court, and that can hold up the process. But I would just appreciate if we had some more information to provide the public with on the process of the demolitions and condemnations, since there are a number of properties that continue to get brought up to me, and I'm sure other council members as well, that have been in that condition for a long period of time.
I'll get that information, Dr. Rothchild.
Thank you. And then even if a property is not currently on the demolition list, some of the longstanding condemned properties, I would still like to know what their status is.
I'll get that also.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I wanted to bring up another topic. I'd made a motion last week about, I believe last week, for sending out a letter to the county assessor's office for the letters that were sent out to tax-exempt organizations or nonprofits to determine their eligibility, if they were still going to be able to remain a nonprofit, if that was still appropriate, or if there's a potential for them to pay taxes. And we were asking for the list of properties that were ineligible or did not respond. And I know that our solicitor had a conversation with someone within that office, but we still have not gotten that list. I know that they were also on vacation, but honestly, I'm tired of the excuses. I think we've been getting a lot of them, and I really would like to see that happen. So I just wanted to reiterate the importance of council sending a letter to them and demanding that we receive the list. I know that the city's been asking for it for months and months too. So that's all that I have. Thank you.
Mr. Sean McAndrew, do you have any motions or comments?
Yeah, a few. Last week, again, I stressed my concern about not getting the fidelity inspection, a public document. The administration originally wanted to speak to us in an executive session to go over that. I was happy to see that we got a document on Friday, but after reading it, I wasn't as happy as I thought I would be, because it was only in a summary of the inspection, and it was marked confidential. So now, none of us can share out what was found in it, not how much repairs are going to make or what repairs need to be done. So that is very concerning to me. Again, I'm going to reiterate, I don't understand why a building inspection has to be confidential and talked about behind closed doors. It's the taxpayers' money we are spending to purchase a building. To purchase a building that two of us didn't even vote on. The start of this entire fidelity purchase, to me, has been rushed. They did it before the new council came on. Inspections were, there was inspections done before and reports from our engineers before they even voted on those and voting on passing to purchase the building. And then there was delays for us getting the inspections, and now we can't even get a copy of it to discuss in public. So I'm extremely upset about it. Unfortunately, since it is marked confidential, I will not be giving it out. But I'm definitely concerned about that going forward, and it just lacks transparency to me, and I think that's the number one thing we keep hearing of this mayor and administration is how transparent they are. Well, this is just another example of not being as transparent as they say. On to the Mulberry Street billboard. Attorney Gilbride, I know we spoke last week. I asked if you could see if you can get any information from the law department on why all of a sudden there was a settlement and the billboard received permits and they're allowed to change to a digital billboard. Have you received anything from the city?
I've not received anything. That issue did come up yesterday when Council President Schuster and myself met with the administration. We were informed at that point that a settlement had been arrived at, which we already knew, but we were not provided with information on the actual merits of the settlement. And then other information was given as to the current situation with the owner of the building that the sign sits next to, that they're required to provide energy and they're not requiring it, and so the sign is not currently functioning apparently. But that was the information that was provided to us at our meeting.
Okay, I appreciate that. Again, more lack of information that I'm upset about. I mean, if there are settlements, we should be knowing, because this is something that council voted on. I was surprised to see, end of last week, that there was an article in the paper. And if the article is correct, that means the Times knows a little bit more than we do. There was a complaint that claimed that the city missed the 45-day working window deadline under the City Code Act and the Harbs decision. So because of that, it looks like the court granted them to move forward and be able to get the permit. So, Mr. Gilbride, can we please ask, is that the correct reason why we have to settle now? Because the city, it's not the Harb, I believe it's the city, missed the window, the timing window to bring this down to council to properly vote on it. I know council voted on it, but they voted on it late because the city did not give down to the previous council. So can you look into that and see if that is actually correct?
Yes, sir.
I also asked for the original permit of the billboard, because my understanding was the billboard never even had a permit to begin with, or a correct permit to begin with. The response we received was the city issued a sign permit for the installation of a digital billboard at 320 Mulberry Street. Well, that's not what I'm wondering. I'm wondering, with the original billboard that was placed there years ago, was there actually a permit? If so, can we please have a copy of it? So, Mr. Voldenberg, if you could ask for when it was permitted for it, can we please have a copy of it? And again, this is for the original billboard, not the digital one, the original billboard that was put there about 10 years ago.
I did reference the original billboard.
Great.
I'll ask again.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Next. I did get some calls regarding the homeless camps that were popping up down by the schools. Before I even was able to bring it up here or talk to anybody in the administration, I found out that the DPW, from the mayor's direction, has been taking down the homeless camps. So can we just have confirmation if that is true? And is that something they're just doing now because it's the spring, or will they be doing that throughout the whole year?
I'll ask those questions.
Okay. And that is all I have for now. Thank you very much. Have a good week.
Thank you. Mr. Gilbride, Sean had brought up the confidential piece of that document. Can we just clarify that and see if we could have that deemed otherwise, so some of that can be discussed? And then have we missed that 30-day window that the extension went out for the inspection?
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, because I have not even seen the actual extension paperwork, so without seeing that original paperwork, I don't want to give you an incorrect answer.
Okay, we could work on that.
It's got to be close, though.
Yeah, so we could work after the meeting and find out those answers. Thank you. Mr. Mark McAndrew, do you have any motions or comments?
Yeah, I got a couple. So NeighborWorks was here a couple weeks ago talking about, the upcoming programs that they have coming, and they mentioned the West Scranton Hometown Heroes second round of banners. And I thought, well, you know what? I remember starting that project in Scranton, because I made a motion right here about 3 years ago, because Mr. Bob Gatton's already started in Southside, and since then he took over Greenridge, North Scranton. I'm not sure where else he went with that, but the rest of the city, but West Scranton didn't have that program started. So I made a motion. I got that program up and running. NeighborWorks has been a great steward of this program. I'd like to give them credit. But I remember initially we were told, they're going to hang them for a couple years, and that's fine. And they stated last week they're going to return the original banners to the residents. And that's a great idea too. But along the way, I made mention of what could we do after that? So, and the idea I have is, because when you applied for the banner, you had to send in an emailed picture or a file, which they retain right now. So what I would like to do is reach out to NeighborWorks, because they're stewards of this program. If when they return the original banner, that they can return that file or picture electronically, so family members could, can buy the garden variety flags. You ever see the little ones you change out for holidays in your yards? I think that'd be a great idea if these residents are made aware that they've had the opportunity, because the flag's coming down. They'll still be able to display it when they feel it's pertinent, holidays or anything related they would want to display in their yard. And maybe we'll get some buy-in from Jaworski's, who actually handles the West Side banners. And if not, there's a bunch of places online that sell them very, very inexpensively. So if you could put all that together and see if they would provide, help the residents, maybe lead them towards that way when they take home their banner, because let's face it, the banners they're going to take home are pretty big, and where are you going to display them? I think a garden variety, they call them, would be pretty cool to, to continue to display, the proud veterans and their family.
I'll reach out to Gerard Hetman tomorrow.
Thank you. Then I got from a concerned resident up on East Mountain, across from the Salvation Army on East Mountain Road, needs some attention. This week, a load of rocks was dumped at the base of the concrete barrier and is still very weedy there, waiting for a thrown-lit cigarette to ignite and cause a fire. So the resident states, and I agree, that they pay very high taxes on the mountain. So I agree something should be done. This is kind of a yearly thing, that some of this debris, and I know there's discussion like there and then before the lookout, entering the city, that's always, and PennDOT's pretty good about it. They have to be reminded of cleaning it up. But Mr. Voldenberg, I had pictures sent to me that I will definitely forward to you, so you can pass this on to the proper departments to address.
Thank you, sir.
And you already took care of 3rd Avenue, because some residents reached out to me about 3rd Avenue. That's near the Elm Street Bridge project, where, since it started, there was redirection of traffic that went on 3rd Avenue, mostly trucks, and the poor residents there are dealing with a lot of debris and dirt and dust, and, you know, the people that reached out to me said, you know, before this started, there were some councilmen down there or people, and the mayor, I wasn't one of them because I don't remember this, that agreed to do periodic street cleaning, because this resident's like, my house is filthy, my car is constantly filthy, my porch, and it's not just her, it's her neighbors. So, but I did see that you forward this inquiry of mine, and we did get a response back. So I'd like to let them know that that this is going to happen for them. Let me see what else here. So I do want to bring up, so I brought this up a couple weeks in a row, and I reached out to our solicitor to help me out with maybe a little research because, and as I mentioned, the so-called ghost telephone poles, right? Which I'm referring to when the utility company puts a new pole in, they leave the old one, right? I was reminded by a resident, there's 3 at one site in West Scranton, and by another resident that it appears to be dangerous. And I do believe it's a public safety issue. I mean, these poles are dangerous. They could fall, they can hurt somebody, plus they're unsightly. I mean, it's like they're leaving their garbage when they put a new pole in. And you know, these utility companies come in here, like I stated last week, they want to be good neighbors, they want to be good partners in our community. Well, I don't think that's being a good partner. I know there's some legislation in the works at the state level that should address it, or will, but I think it was only passed in the House and has to go to the Senate. But I did ask Mr. Gilbride if there's anything we can do locally. I don't know if we should wait for the state and then maybe that'll help us craft something locally. But could you touch on that for us, Mr. Solicitor Gilbride?
Yeah, under the Pennsylvania Public Utility Act, local municipalities are only allowed to pass ordinances with regard to public safety issues involving ghost poles. And of course, what is a ghost pole safety problem is something that the court decides. So if they're unsightly or whatnot, that's not a reason. You're not allowed to do that. You're correct, there is legislation moving through the state legislature right now. It's kind of been stuck for a while. So it certainly would be helpful to have some guidance from the state to know what we will be able to do or not able to, because at this point, I'm not an engineer, so I can't tell what a my opinion on what's public safety issue is meaningless. And ultimately, it would have to be something a judge would decide if that was threatened, if a lawsuit was threatened by them for trying to force an ordinance through.
All right, well, thank you.
But I'm not even sure, truthfully, I'm not even sure how, we would have to issue, whether from the police or the zoning, would have to issue something against them saying you must take this down, and then they'd have to file with the court saying, you know, you can't do that, that's not a safety issue. And so then we're just getting into litigation. So it's really messy with the way the law is currently situated because there's no guidance at all other than what is a safety issue. I mean, certainly if something's right in the middle of a road, that's a safety issue, but does it have to be a foot off? Does it have to be 6 inches? And the case law is not developed on that. Probably for that reason. No one wants to spend money on litigation constantly over something like that. So
I get it. I just don't agree with the position of the state in allowing the utility companies to actually just leave their,
well, the current state of the law in Pennsylvania is they are allowed to do it.
I know, I don't.
That is the
I just
law
don't like
in
it.
Pennsylvania.
And the residents don't. So let's keep our eye on that legislation. Hopefully, it will put us in a direction where we might be able to do something, or at least, just because they don't want to do it doesn't. Just because the utility companies say, "Hey, we don't have to do it," doesn't mean they shouldn't. When they claim that that they want to work with us and be good neighbors and partners, but they have no problem raising their rates at a whim, So thank you, though, for looking into that. We'll just keep our eye on that. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Voldenberg. I'd
Yes,
say
sir.
2 years ago, we had a list of over 100 double poles at North Scranton and West Side alone. We did turn that list over, and what, do you recall and sorry to put you on the spot, do you recall the answer we got? Because I do believe that Don King had reached out and...
That's right. He was working with the representative at PPL to resolve it, but they were unable to do so.
Okay, could we reach back out
I'll
to
reach
him
out again.
and see if any of those poles on that list that we gave him, if they've been taken care of, or if they're still up?
I have the list. I'll follow up.
Thank you. Mr. Flynn, do you have any motions or comments?
Yes, thank you. First, I got word from UGI today that they will be coming to Electric Street tomorrow to restore their pave cuts, long overdue. So I really hope that they get out there tomorrow. It's a nightmare out there. So let's see what happens with that. And then also, I wasn't aware until Mr. Sean McAndrew just talked about taking down some of the encampments and some of the tents. And my hope is that as the city is doing this, that they would partner with some of these nonprofits that came before us. And with Social Contract last week was talking so much about how all the nonprofits come together so well in Scranton that they would hopefully get some to go out to these sites with DPW or the police or whoever is going out there to offer some services to these individuals as they're losing what is at that point their home. To have the availability of services there for them would be, I think, not only impactful, but the right and moral and ethical thing to do as we're tearing down their tents and their homes at that point, to offer them some sort of services, whatever they may be, whether it be just guidance on some of the shelters or some other more extensive services that they may need to help themselves. So, Mr. Voldenberg, if we could please ask the administration if they are doing that, and if not, if they could please figure out who the right nonprofits are to go out with them as they're doing this to help these individuals get some of these services.
I will, Mr. Flynn.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few comments tonight. One, can we just reach out again? I know we spoke to the administration about the Meadowbrook project, but can we just reach out to keep that on the radar as to where we are with easements for that project?
I will, sir.
Thank you. And it was mentioned tonight, Grayson, someone in Fourth Order had mentioned him. He had sent me several messages online, and I had the chance to meet him recently, and I was glad that he said hello and expressed some of the his opinions with me. Mark did get the bottom of East Mountain. On the way to the meeting, I did get a message about 1703 Washburn Street. So at 1703 Washburn Street, just in front of the stop sign, or just in front of the sidewalk, there's a small subsidence that opened up. They were able to send some pictures. I sent them over to you, Frank. They were able to cover it with their recycling can. So it's a small subsidence about the size of a recycling can. If we could send that over to.
I received that, and I'll follow up.
Thank you very much. In caucus tonight, we did discuss pilots. We did discuss some of the larger nonprofits in the city and trying to follow up on some of their pilots. Frank, can we ask for a list of the individuals that over the last 3 years have sent pilot payments into the city?
I'll get that.
Thank you very much. We spoke about some other actions we could possibly take, but we'll wait till we get that back before we make any moves or any action on that. That's all I have for tonight.
B for introduction and ordinance, amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Scranton to amend provisions related to data centers and related provisions as outlined herein.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5B be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
Yeah, on the question, I just want to say I'm glad to see this ordinance being introduced tonight, both of these ordinances. I appreciate the work that went into putting it together. I believe that these ordinances put us in a position to be proactive rather than reactive. By updating our zoning code, now we're making sure that if opportunities come to Scranton down the road, we have the right safeguards, regulations, and review processes already in place. Being proactive with our zoning code is just good governance. I look forward to continuing to review the proposal, hearing from input from stakeholders and residents as we move through this process. Just overall excited to see this be introduced and what comes of it, but I'm glad this is being introduced tonight.
Thank you very much. Anyone else on the question?
On the question, Councilman Flynn there took many of the words out of my mouth that I was also thinking in reference to 5B and 5C tonight. I'm also happy to be introducing these pieces of legislation, and the word that's come to my mind as well is proactive, being proactive in doing this and seeing this as a way to protect the city. It's important to me, and I know important to the public and as well. But we do need to add definitions and language into our zoning ordinance because they do not already exist for data centers, and that's why I'll be voting on these pieces tonight. Thank you.
Anyone else on the question?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both my colleagues. Very happy that this is proactive. We're getting it out there, and we're going to, make sure we're protecting our city. That's the biggest point, is making sure we're protecting our city. And I'm also very happy and thankful that the administration is including us in it. President Schuster has been meeting with the administration regarding going back and forth, taking our questions. So I think this is a great example where we can work together to provide a great ordinance to protect our city. So I'm very happy to be voting on this and looking forward to working together to create the ordinance. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Also on the question?
Yeah, on the question. So so it's clear to the public that we're not just introducing legislations because we want data centers in the city. The law requires us to allow 4 to 8% of land in Scranton for data centers. Doesn't mean I like it. It doesn't mean I'm personally for data centers. But like stated earlier, we don't have anything on the books related to data centers. So when we don't have anything on the books, when people come before zoning, there might be a perception that they're allowed. So, of course, if you look at the legislation, we're voting on or introducing, amending, or a provision on zoning or for zoning that didn't exist. But we're going to have the ability to amend, supplement, or repeal. And I can tell you, I will, and I'm sure my colleagues will do our due diligence to protect the city and regulate these data centers. And we have time to do it, so I'm glad we're introducing it. I'm glad we're voting on it, so we can work on it. Like I said, doesn't mean I'm for them, doesn't mean I like them, but we'll have the opportunity to do it right on behalf of all of you.
Thank you. Also on the question, everything that's been stated before me, I have the similar sentiments. We're taking a proactive stance to protect the interests of the city. There's several pieces of state legislation regarding this same topic, so it's going to give us the time to see how that state legislation pans out. It's going to give us time for public input and public comment, and I'm happy we're going to be introducing and having discussion on this topic as we move forward. All those in favor of introduction signify by stating aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it and so moved.
5C for introduction, an ordinance, amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Scranton to amend provisions related to data centers and related provision as outlined herein.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5C be introduced into its proper committee.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it and so moved.
I make a motion to table items 5B and 5C.
Second.
There is a motion on the floor and a second to table items 5B and 5C. These ordinances are being tabled until a public hearing can be held at a later date. On the question, all those in favor of signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it and so moved.
5D for introduction, a resolution authorizing and approving the execution and submission of a fiscal year 2027 federal appropriations community project funding request application by the City of Scranton for up to $1 million for the purchase of police technology and equipment.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5D be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it and so moved.
5E for introduction, a resolution authorizing and approving the execution and submission of a fiscal year 2027 federal appropriations community project funding request application by the City of Scranton for up to $529,879 for the Pine Brook Brownfield Cleanup and Site Preparation Project.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5E be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it and so moved.
5F for introduction, a resolution authorizing and approving the execution and submission of a fiscal year 2027 federal appropriations community project funding request application by the City of Scranton for up to $3 million for the Pittston Avenue Infrastructure Streetscape Project.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5F be introduced into its proper committee.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it and so moved.
5G for introduction, a resolution authorizing and approving the execution and submission of a fiscal year 2027 federal appropriations community project funding request application by the City of Scranton for up to $500,000 for the Francis Willard Schoolyard Project.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5G be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it and so moved.
5H for introduction, a resolution authorizing and approving the execution and submission of a fiscal year 2027 federal appropriations community project funding request application by the City of Scranton for up to $2,343,750 for the construction of an emergency operations and training center.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5H be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it and so moved.
5I for introduction, a resolution authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with RHL Companies, Inc. to perform Lindy Creek stormwater improvements.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5I be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it and so moved.
Sixth order, no business at this time. Seventh order, 7A, for consideration by the Committee on Community Development for adoption, Resolution Number 28, 2026, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to request funding from Lackawanna County's Art and Culture Department in support of the county's America 250 PA initiative.
What is the recommendation for the chairperson for the Committee on Community Development?
As the chairperson for the Committee on Community Development, I recommend final passage of item 7A.
Second.
On the question, a roll call, please.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. Sean McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Mark McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Flynn?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7A legally and lawfully adopted.
7B, for consideration by the Committee on Public Safety for adoption, Resolution Number 29, 2026, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to submit a grant application for a PennDOT Green Light Go program in the amount of $402,220 to be used towards upgrades at the intersection of Providence Road and Albright Avenue.
What is the recommendation for the chairperson on the Committee on Public Safety?
As chairperson for the Committee on Public Safety, I recommend final passage of item 7B.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. Sean McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Mark McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Flynn?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7B legally and lawfully adopted.
Eighth order has no business at this time.
If there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. This meeting is adjourned. Good night.